The hours are long and it is really hard work, but at the end of the day, it is so rewarding to look after people and to give them experience that they don't get everywhere.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. French bistros have underpinned the ethos and ideals of many restaurants over the last few decades in Australia. The simplicity, the ingredients, the technique, and the service. But Australia has its own unique climate and ingredients. What does a modern Australian bistro inspired by classic French bistros look like? Megan Rhoades-Brown is the owner of Muse Kitchen in Pecolbin and Lorne. Megan, how are you?
Hi, Anthony. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to have you on the show. You're pretty busy with two restaurants inspired by French bistros. What's it like delivering that in regional New South Wales?
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. The guests that we have visit the restaurant are so appreciative of the experience that we provide, and it's still so rewarding after so many years to be able to provide that to our guests.
It's inspired, both venues are inspired by French bistros, but a little bit different. How different are they given the context of Australian ingredients and being in regional New South Wales to a classic French bistro?
Well, I mean, I think that we have a lot of flexibility in what we provide. We try not to pigeonhole ourselves into one particular sort of type of cuisine. We're very guided by our guests and the feedback that we get and what our guests enjoy. So I think from menu to menu, from season to season, I think the menu evolves based predominantly off the feedback we get from guests and what we think that they want and what we think they're going to enjoy. So not necessarily all that trend driven, but just dishes and food that people can just sit down and enjoy and not overly have to understand or it's sort of not going to they don't sort of need to have this huge knowledge of food to enjoy it.
You've got an amazing young chef there, Josh Gregory. How does he balance that need for creativity as a young chef and the want of the diner to get that balance right?
I'm so lucky in that our guest experience is at the forefront for him. Nothing else really matters. He sort of leaves, and as he tells his team, leave your ego at the door. We're here for our guests. It's refreshing, and he's been like it right from day dot when he started with us as a first-year apprentice. He has always had that temperament, and it's, just sort of hats off to him because he's just over the years as he's become a better chef, that hasn't changed. And it's really refreshing, especially for the young chefs that work with him, because I find that, it does rub off on them and it's really refreshing.
The last couple of years have been pretty challenging for restaurants, but to throw on top of that, you've thrown in a new restaurant. In the last year and a half, you opened the one in Lorne. What was it like opening a restaurant in this time?
In hindsight, but it's been great. If anything, the last few years, I would say, have taught me more about running a business than the 10 years before that. Just how to swivel and how to be, flexible and sort of adapt to the different situations that we've been in. Every lockdown's been different, different length of time, staff starting with us and then, finishing with us. And it's been hard. It's been really, really hard. And I think our industry is still very much feeling it and will continue to feel it for some time, I think.
That's really fascinating. You've learnt more in the last 2 years than perhaps the last decade as a business owner. Tell us about that. What have you learned and what's changed with your approach to hospitality as a result?
I think that we were just thrown into this situation that none of us ever thought that we would be in. None of us had plans in place to deal with this. And You know, one minute we're trading, the next minute we're closed as of 5 p.m. this evening. Yeah, it was very stressful. So I think we've learnt to operate the restaurant with definitely less staff. That's probably a choice we didn't make consciously, but we've had to deal with. And also, I mean, guest expectations, sort of booking spacing, the number of guests where we can book at a time, everything, the timing of our dining experience, everything had to be taken into consideration to be able to keep the restaurants afloat, essentially.
You mentioned that you've learned a lot during this period of time. Do you feel that diners have learned a lot too? Is there a new type of diner coming to the regions at the moment?
Same diners, but I think people definitely the guests that we're looking after are so understanding of what of the situation that we're in, and they're so appreciative that we are still loving what we do, and we are still putting, we're going the extra mile to over deliver, and that hasn't changed. But guests know that the dining experience, it takes a little bit longer now to serve that. We used to sort of aim for that 2 hours. Now we're at 2.5 hours because we're definitely light on chefs. But the guests don't blink an eye. The guests that we've had have just, they've been wonderful.
Well, take me back to when you were young. What sort of role did food play in your family?
Oh, it was pretty basic, to be honest. No offence to my mother. Feed me, but it was pretty basic. Honestly, I fell into this industry by complete accident. I went through school, I finished for HSC, and I just sort of hadn't found what I wanted to do yet. And just decided, through school, worked at a restaurant and as a kitchen hand, believe it or not. And finished the HSC and thought, I might just work the holidays. So I went to Robert and Sally Moliness, who I'd grown up knowing. I sort of grew up with their children. So I knew Robert and Sally, and, they sort of gave me an opportunity, and I started working there, and then that led into a hospitality traineeship, and I was hooked. I couldn't get enough of it. It was just the attention to detail and the caring for people and providing this experience that impressed people was just so rewarding. And it wasn't something I thought I would get from any other job or any other sort of career path that I would take. So that's why I decided to stay in it. And it wasn't sort of without my parents saying, no, you don't want to do that, go to university. And I was like, no, I found what I love doing. It started from there, and I've been hooked ever since. There isn't a day where I don't want to go to work.
Are there any experiences or moments or venues that you worked at that really contributed to the path that you've gone on in your career?
Oh, I mean, every good restaurant that I eat at, it always inspires me again. We just come back from Sydney over the last few days and dined down there, and it just reinvigorates me. It just reiterates to me that there are still those hospitality professionals out there that just love the industry as much as I do. And, particularly in the Hunter Valley, we're finding it tough at the moment to find those individuals. But I'm just going to remain very optimistic that we will find them, and we'll just keep working hard until then. But honestly, any dining experience that I have where I'm looked after genuinely, it just reinvigorates my whole love for the industry.
Muse Dining is an amazingly awarded restaurant, and you were a real key to the success of that. Tell us about the beginnings of that and how you created Muse Dining.
Oh, it was tough. Troy and I sort of worked together at Roberts and knew right from the very start that we could open a restaurant together. And but I don't think either of us envisioned what we'd end up with. We pictured something far smaller, far more humble, but go big or go home. We decided to sort of take on the venue that's Hungerford Hill, which is a large space, and it's grand. And so what you provide there, the experience you provide, needs to match that sort of building and location. And so we decided we went in completely blind at the beginning of the global financial crisis in 2009. Decided to open one of the most expensive restaurants in the Hunter Valley. So that was good. Nothing was costed. We went in. It was all heart. Nothing else. I can honestly say nothing else drove us but our hearts. And we just put a team together, very small, but all hospitality professionals that we'd known. We started and we went through the first year, and that was tough. Numbers were good, but again, nothing was costed. So we had no way. We were sort of flying blind. And I remember our accountant turned up one day and said, "We need to talk about when we're going to close the restaurant." You got in trouble. We were like, "Oh," and I remember Troy saying, "Just give us a little bit more time. Just let us get reviewed by the Good Food Guide, and let's see how we go." He just really, just to have that validation from people that we looked up to so much, it meant a lot to us. So we waited, and I think it was another 4 months. We were reviewed, and the review came out, and we got a chef's hat. And we were so proud. It was honestly, I still remember we were away skiing. I remember I was coming down the slopes, and Troy was standing at the bottom of the slopes, jumping up and down like an idiot. And I thought to myself, what is wrong with him? And just a phone call to say we got our invite to the Good Food Guide Awards. So that was like us like winning an Oscar or something. That's how much it meant to us. From then on, it was like, what that did for our sort of relatively unknown business, what it did for us was, I can't even tell you. People sort of, I don't know, took us more seriously. Staff wanted to work with us. Back then there was this big pool of staff, so you could pick and choose, and you could really put a team together of people that, they covered every aspect of the dining experience. It was just, it was amazing to be a part of. And, then it went from there. And then a couple of years later we opened Muse Kitchen because we were given this unbelievable opportunity from Keith and Amanda Tulloch. It was just a really nice way of offering a different dining experience, offering a bit of, sort of variance within the workplace for our staff as well. They do some shifts at Muse Kitchen, they do some shifts at Muse Restaurant. It was just a way of it's mixing it up for them a little bit, which keeps the job interesting. And it was amazing to be a part of. I'm definitely very proud.
You became renowned as one of the best front of house professionals in a regional restaurant in Australia. Well, tell us about service in a regional restaurant and meeting those standards. What is the art to great service in a restaurant of sort of Muse Dining standard?
Without a doubt, attention to detail. And not just attention to detail in looking after someone. It's, cleanliness, it's neatness, it's organisation, it's, everything from scented candles that smell beautiful so the bathrooms smell beautiful. It's everything. It's everything. It's the lighting, it's the temperature, it's the music. So much goes into creating an experience that people can't sort of criticize in any way. That you just want them to sit there and enjoy themselves, and in order to do that, everything needs to be taken care of. So yeah, that for me is, it's just attention to detail and attention to every detail within the restaurant.
With the awards that you're receiving and the attention, what sort of impact did that have on you and the operations of the business?
Definitely. I mean, there was definitely added pressure. We definitely did feel that. We put that completely on ourselves, though. But we definitely did feel it. The business, I think we were just, we were just, our name was out there. So rather than us having those quiet Friday nights and waiting until all of our guests came up on the Saturday to start booking on the Saturday night, and then we were turning people away, our Friday nights picked up. So people were actually booking us before they were coming, rather than waiting till they were up and then being recommended to us and then trying to get a reservation. So that was really nice. And then, you know, you were open for 4 nights of the week. They were all really consistently booked. And I think it was just that, yeah, our name was out there, and we always said it didn't matter if we had 10 guests in the restaurant or 100 guests in the restaurant. If those 10 guests had the same experience as if the restaurant was full, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. That if people enjoyed themselves, they'd go away, they'd recommend us, more people would come, and we just had to believe that would happen. And it did. It did. It was just all about the experience, not necessarily focusing on the number of guests that we had in the restaurant at any one time.
These days, Troy has Muse Dining, and you have the Muse Kitchens. Taking over the bistros, did that change your approach, or were there challenges involved in running the businesses by yourself?
Not at all. It definitely doesn't change my approach to the business, my approach to service. It's exactly the same. The standards are exactly the same. Definitely, it was a lesson, lots of lessons learned. Having to be across, it's definitely different running a business on your own to running it with someone who you know has your back, and you can bounce ideas off. And Troy definitely, he was over the kitchen. I never had to worry about that. You know, the chefs were happy. They were, he had them under control, and, and he took care of all of that beautiful, food that was coming out of the kitchen. So I just had to focus on the front of house. Whereas now it's, I do have to be across all aspects of the business, but, there are benefits to that as well. So, like I said, there's been lessons learned, but it's definitely not been in a negative way. I'm appreciative for the lessons that I have learned, that's for sure.
Muse Kitchen is a real celebration of the produce of the region as well. Do you have any stories of the connections that you've made with producers of the region?
Oh, it's lovely, the connection, especially seeing the relationship that Josh has with them. They really look after us, and the suppliers, most of the suppliers that we use, they're delivering the produce themselves. And that's, it's really nice just seeing the relationship that he has with them, having them dine in the restaurant and seeing their produce on the menu. It's nice. I guess that's one of the best parts about owning a regional restaurant, is you do get that relationship that you don't always get if you had a restaurant sort of in the city. So
the two restaurants are only a hop, skip and a jump away from each other. How different are the offerings, and how do you manage the two venues? Completely different
in that the Hunter Valley is a more formal dining experience, that fixed price, that fixed number of courses, and sort of that longer time spent with the guests creating that experience. Whereas Lawn is built for either that long leisurely lunch, cocktails, wine, or that quick lunch that, in people's lunch break, they can come, have one course and be on their way. So we've got to sort of be really flexible in terms of what our guests are arriving and needing from us. And completely different clientele, which is, really, really nice as well. All of my staff work between the two, which makes managing it a lot easier. So Josh is executive chef for both restaurants. He controls the menu at both, but he has a head chef at Lorne who takes care of the day-to-day runnings of the restaurant. But front of house wise, we do have all of our staff work between the two, and they understand the standard, and it's no different from either restaurant.
During this time before the international borders opened up, there was a lot of talk about the regions booming and restaurants in regions booming. What's things like at the moment, and how do you see the next couple of years for regional restaurants like the ones you have?
Things are great at the moment. The Hunter Valley particularly is busy. It's almost like it's come back to life. It's sort of the Hunter Valley 10 years ago. We had weekends where there were people out riding bikes, and there were people laying on the grass, and by the side of the road, people having picnics. That's what it was like. It just got so quiet there for a while, and the Hunter Valley, everything felt so different. But it just feels like it's come back to life. People have realised what we have on our doorstep. It really makes you appreciate what you have here, and the Hunter Valley is amazing at the moment. And Lorne, guests are just they were just so happy to have things open and be out and getting coffee, and there, it was like a party town there. The day everything opened, it was, give me 3 coffees, 4 coffees, and come back and have more coffee. They're just so happy to have, for life to be, back to normal, essentially.
With the success of the Muse Kitchen at Lorne, do you have any plans for further expansion in the next couple of years?
Oh, definitely not at the moment. Just staffing is very tough at the moment. Lorne's currently closed Wednesday, Thursdays, purely because we can't staff it. So I had to reduce the trading hours there, which... and we're just looking to recruit. So at the moment, I think just our guest experience is really at the forefront for us. And we are busy, but we will book the number of guests that we can look after well, and we'll continue to do that until things improve. But, no plans for expansion at the moment, just focusing on what we do and constantly improving the standard. And
you're one of the key people with the sort of rise in offerings in regional Australia and the boom in amazing offerings in regional towns. So what do you love about what you do?
Oh, no 2 days is ever the same. It is. I tell my staff there's not many jobs that you can do where you can work 12 hours and not look at your watch once. We don't have time to look at it. And we are the hours are long, and it is really hard work, but at the end of the day, it is so rewarding to look after people and to give them experience that they don't get everywhere. And I think it's so rare these days to have that dining experience where you feel genuinely looked after from the minute you walk through the door to the minute your waiter walks you out. It's my staff are so dedicated to what they do, and seeing that, it's a no-brainer to want to turn up to work every day with those people, because they're unbelievably professional.
Well, Megan, it's amazing what you've created there in the Hunter Valley, and it's an absolute honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today to hear your story. Please keep in touch, and we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.